They call it the Sunshine State, a land of palm trees, warm waves, and endless summer. To millions around the world, Florida isn't just a state, it's a fantasy. A place where you can escape the chaos, start over, and live life in paradise. But what if that paradise was built on sand, literally and figuratively? For decades, Florida sold itself as the perfect dream. No state income tax, affordable homes, beautiful weather, and a lifestyle that felt like a permanent vacation. People from New York, California, and even from other countries rushed in. They came looking for freedom, safety, and sunshine. But here's the truth no one wanted to see. Paradise was never meant to hold this many people, this much ambition, or this much pressure. It started with the boom. In the 1980s and 90s, Florida exploded. Cities like Miami, Orlando, and Tampa transformed from sleepy coastal towns into booming urban centers. Developers built faster than ever, filling the skyline with condos and resorts. For every beach house sold, a new dream was sold with it, a home in paradise. By the 2000s, Florida had become one of the fastest-growing states in America. More highways, more theme parks, more tourists, more money. The promise was simple: move to Florida and live the good life. And for a while it worked. The cost of living was lower, jobs were plentiful, and the sun shone year-round. People posted pictures of their new lives online, drinks by the pool, walks on the beach, endless summer vibes. But the cracks were already forming beneath the surface. As more people came, prices climbed. Neighborhoods built for middle-class families turned into zones of luxury speculation. Foreign investors bought entire apartment complexes to rent them out at triple the price. Meanwhile, local workers, the ones who made the dream function, were being pushed out. Waiters, teachers, nurses, even police officers, they couldn't afford to live in the same cities they served. And so, the paradise started to divide. The wealthy lived on the coast, protected by walls, cameras, and gated communities. Everyone else moved farther inland, searching for what little affordability remained. Still, the dream didn't die. Because Florida is a master of illusion. It hides its problems behind a smile, behind the palm trees and perfect sunsets. Every new arrival sees the beaches and feels the warmth and thinks, "This is it, this is home." But the locals know better. They see the cracks, the roads that flood after 10 minutes of rain, the abandoned homes after hurricanes, the mold that creeps up the walls, the rents that double overnight. Florida has always been a place of extremes: extreme beauty, extreme weather, extreme opportunity, and now, extreme risk. People come here to chase peace, but find themselves fighting to survive the cost of their own dream. And yet, the population keeps rising. In the last few years alone, more than 1 million new residents have arrived, many escaping the chaos of other states, high taxes, strict lockdowns, political unrest. They call it the Great Migration, but few realize they might be running straight into a storm, because while everyone's busy moving to Florida, something else is happening quietly, beneath their feet. The land is sinking, the water is rising, and the same paradise they came to enjoy might one day vanish under the waves. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. To understand how paradise is falling apart, you first need to understand how it was built. Florida's success was built on risk. Constant expansion, fragile infrastructure, and a real estate industry that believed the party would never end. Developers paved wetlands, drained swamps, and built entire cities on ground that was never meant to hold them. It didn't matter. The money was flowing, the buyers were endless, and the weather, for now, was still perfect. But every dream built too fast starts to crack. Every paradise built on illusion eventually meets reality. And Florida's reality is starting to hit hard. The roads can't handle the traffic anymore. The water systems are overwhelmed. Rent has skyrocketed by over 40% in some cities since 2020. And the same freedom that drew millions in is now turning into chaos, a place where the rich live safely in high-rises, while everyone else struggles just to keep a roof over their head. Still, ask anyone moving in, and they'll say the same thing. It's worth it. It's Florida. But that's the danger of illusion. You don't realize it's an illusion until it starts to break. This is not the Florida you see in postcards. This is the real one. A state stretched to its limit where beauty and danger live side by side. And as we're about to see, the cracks in the dream are no longer invisible. Because behind the sunsets and palm trees, the story of Florida isn't about the rise of paradise. It's about how paradise begins to drown. The story of Florida's collapse doesn't start with a hurricane. It starts with a house that looks perfect. Palm trees out front, fresh paint, a small pool glistening under the sun. It's the image that sold millions of people a dream. Own a piece of paradise. But what most don't realize is that Florida's housing market is not built to last. It's built to sell. For decades, Florida's economy has revolved around real estate, not just as an industry but as a religion. Buy, build, flip, repeat. Developers became local kings. Entire cities were planned by corporations, and homes became the currency of dreams. If you could sell the dream, you could get rich. And for a long time, everyone did. But behind the glossy brochures and new developments lies a system more fragile than anyone wants to admit. Florida's land is a swamp, a delicate, shifting foundation that developers learned to manipulate. They drained wetlands, filled them with sand, and called it prime real estate. It looked stable on the surface, until the rains came. Because in Florida, the earth itself moves. The limestone beneath the soil absorbs water like a sponge. When that water disappears or rises too fast, the ground caves in. That's why sinkholes swallow entire neighborhoods without warning. And yet developers kept building, faster, cheaper, higher. The goal wasn't safety, it was profit. Cities like Miami and Tampa turned into billion-dollar playgrounds. Condominiums rose overnight, often sold out before they were even finished. Foreign investors, corporations, and even pension funds poured money in. It didn't matter if anyone actually lived there, as long as the prices kept rising. And they did. By 2023, the average home in Florida cost over $400,000, double what it was just a decade earlier. Rent prices in some areas jumped by 60% in less than 5 years. Locals were forced out, small businesses disappeared, and tourism-based jobs could no longer support the cost of living. What once felt like freedom was turning into financial suffocation. Take the city of Miami, often called the capital of Latin America, a place where luxury towers rise like glass mountains above the sea. For every billionaire moving in, a dozen families are forced to move out. They can't afford the flood insurance, the repairs, or the rising cost of property taxes. And it's not just the coast. Even inland, the housing crisis is spreading. In Orlando, families are living in motels once built for tourists. In Naples, retirees are selling their homes because their insurance premiums are now higher than their pensions. Florida's dream has turned into a trap. Because when the cost of living rises, but wages don't, collapse isn't a question, it's a countdown. And the timer is ticking faster than anyone expected. Every hurricane season, more homes are destroyed, rebuilt, and resold at higher prices. Insurance companies are pulling out of the state entirely. Some of the biggest names in the business, Farmers, 8AA, and even State Farm, have reduced coverage or left Florida altogether. Why? Because the risk is no longer worth it. Storms are stronger, floods are deeper, the damage is constant. For every house that survives, thousands more are one storm away from ruin. Homeowners now face a brutal choice: sell while they still can, or risk losing everything in the next hurricane. And yet, new buyers keep coming, unaware or perhaps in denial. Because the illusion of Florida is stronger than the facts. Every ad still shows sunshine, boats, and perfect suburban streets. No one shows the mold, the insurance cancellations, or the flooded driveways. It's a mirage, a beautiful, deadly mirage. And the deeper you go, the more you realize how fragile it all is. Entire towns built below sea level, power lines exposed to storms, water systems that backflow during floods, sending sewage into neighborhoods. Every hurricane season reveals how unprepared Florida truly is. But instead of slowing down, development is accelerating. The logic is simple. If the coast floods, build inland. But inland Florida isn't immune, it's swampland too. Every new construction pushes water somewhere else, flooding other communities. So even those who move to safer areas are only safe for now. Because water doesn't care about zip codes or property lines. In Florida, the map itself is changing. Coastlines shrinking, wetlands vanishing, and water tables rising year after year. Scientists warn that entire neighborhoods will become uninhabitable by the end of this century. But the market refuses to believe it. Because markets don't run on logic, they run on hope. And hope sells faster than fear. Still, there's a quiet panic among those who see what's coming. The people who build the homes, who work the hotels, who keep the system running, they're already being priced out. They're leaving in record numbers, searching for somewhere affordable, somewhere stable. For many, that means leaving Florida altogether. But for everyone who leaves, 2 more move in. Retirees, remote workers, investors chasing quick profits. The illusion renews itself with every new arrival. It's a cycle: dream, debt, disaster, rebuild, repeat. And somewhere deep down, everyone knows the truth. Florida isn't built for forever, it's built for now. A state addicted to short-term gain, ignoring the long-term cost. And that cost is growing, in dollars, in homes, and in lives. Because when a dream becomes too expensive to live, it stops being paradise. It becomes the trap you can't escape. The dream of Florida has always been built on its climate: the sun, the warmth, the endless summer. But the same forces that made it paradise are now turning against it. Florida is becoming ground zero for climate disaster. And this time, no amount of real estate, tourism, or political optimism can hide what's coming. The signs are everywhere. Longer summers, shorter winters, sea levels creeping higher each year, rain that falls harder, faster, and more often. Hurricanes that once came once a decade now strike almost every year. In just the last decade, Florida has been hit by some of the most powerful storms in U.S. history: Michael, Ian, Irma, Idalia. Each one breaking records, destroying cities, and costing billions. Each one worse than the last. But hurricanes are only part of the story. The real danger is slower, quieter, creeping in through the cracks of paradise. Salt water is rising into freshwater systems, poisoning drinking water. Fish are dying, trees are rotting, and the famous Everglades, Florida's natural shield, are shrinking. Every year, more land disappears under the sea, not in some distant future. Now, in places like Miami Beach, flooding happens on clear, sunny days. Locals call it sunny day flooding. The water rises through the drains, flooding streets and garages even without a drop of rain. It's a warning, one that many refuse to hear. But for those living here, denial is no longer an option, because every storm season brings the same fear. Will we make it through this one? In 2022, Hurricane Ian made landfall as one of the strongest storms ever recorded in Florida. Winds over 240 kilometers per hour tore through the Gulf Coast, flattening entire communities. The damage reached over $110 billion, making it the costliest storm in Florida's history. Thousands lost their homes overnight, some their lives. But the real shock came after the storm, when people realized how unprepared the system truly was. Insurance companies went bankrupt, power grids failed, roads disappeared underwater, and as the state tried to rebuild, many homeowners discovered their insurance wouldn't cover the full cost. It's the same story every time. Rebuild, recover, repeat. But how many times can you rebuild before you lose everything? For many Floridians, that question isn't hypothetical anymore. Entire towns are moving inland. Some communities are planning managed retreats, abandoning the coast altogether. It's an idea that once sounded extreme. Now it's a survival strategy. But moving inland isn't safety. It's delay, because the storms are getting stronger, not weaker. The temperatures are rising, and Florida's geography makes it a perfect target. A flat peninsula, surrounded by warm ocean on 3 sides. It's like a magnet for hurricanes. Scientists say it's only going to get worse. By 2050, sea levels around Florida could rise by up to 2 feet. That's enough to put entire neighborhoods underwater permanently. And by the end of the century, cities like Miami, Key West, and Fort Lauderdale could become uninhabitable. Yet the construction continues. More condos, more beachfront properties, more luxury towers, all being built in flood zones. Developers promise they're climate resilient, but the ocean doesn't care about marketing. Every new tower adds more people, more risk, more denial. And when the next storm comes, the illusion will shatter again. Because hurricanes don't just destroy buildings, they destroy stability. Every storm pushes the insurance industry closer to collapse. Every flood drives another family into debt. Every heat wave strains the state's fragile power grid. And when the power fails, everything stops. The air conditioning, the hospitals, the phones, the water pumps. In a state where summer temperatures now reach over 110 degree fours, a power outage isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. Florida has already seen a surge in climate migration, not from other countries but from within. People fleeing coastal areas to move north or out of state entirely. The irony is brutal. The same state that people moved to for safety and opportunity is now the one they re-escaping from. But the scariest part? This is just the beginning. Because Florida is a warning, a glimpse into the future that other coastal states will soon face. Louisiana, Texas, the Carolinas, all are next in line. The storm doesn't care about borders. It follows the heat, and the heat is spreading. Still, every morning life goes on. Tourists crowd the beaches, families buy homes, politicians promise everything is fine. But beneath the sand, the water keeps rising. And no matter how bright the sun shines, you can't ignore the storm that's already here. Florida has become the front line of the climate war. Not a future threat, but a present reality. And the question is no longer if paradise will fall, but when. Every paradise has a price. And in Florida, that price is finally coming due. For decades, the state lived off three main pillars: real estate, tourism, and migration. As long as people kept moving in, as long as tourists kept spending, and as long as houses kept selling, everything looked stable. But that stability was an illusion. Because when all your pillars depend on growth, what happens when growth stops? It's already happening. The population boom that once made Florida unstoppable is now becoming its biggest weakness. Infrastructure is collapsing under the weight of millions of new residents. Roads are gridlocked, hospitals overwhelmed, and schools underfunded. Every system designed for a smaller population is now breaking under pressure. The cost of living has exploded. In Miami, rent prices have more than doubled in less than a decade. Even in smaller cities like Jacksonville or Sarasota, the average apartment now costs more than most people's paychecks. The median income in Florida is around $65,000, but to live comfortably in Miami, you now need over $120,000 a year. The math doesn't work. And when the math stops working, collapse begins. Homeowners are trapped in mortgages they can't afford. Tenants face rent hikes of 30% or more overnight. Insurance premiums that once cost a few $100s now exceed several thousand per year. For many, the dream of homeownership has turned into financial quicksand. Small businesses are closing. Restaurants, shops, and local services that depend on the middle class are disappearing, replaced by luxury developments and chain brands. Florida is becoming a state of extremes, the ultra-rich and the struggling poor with little in between. Even tourism, the engine that kept Florida running, is beginning to falter. Rising temperatures make summers unbearable. Hurricanes cancel flights, destroy beaches, and shut down attractions. Theme parks that once drew millions now face fluctuating attendance as families reconsider their vacations. And when tourism slows, everything slows. From hotels to restaurants to retail, the ripple spreads fast. The government tries to maintain the illusion of prosperity, promoting record population growth and economic freedom. But behind the slogans, the reality is harsh. People are leaving. Not in massive waves yet, but steadily, quietly. Every month, more Floridians pack up and move north, chasing affordability and stability. The very migration that once fueled the boom is now reversing. And with fewer buyers, fewer workers, and fewer tourists, the economy begins to wobble. Meanwhile, the state's budget faces a silent crisis. As insurance companies withdraw, the government has to step in to prevent total collapse. Taxpayers are footing the bill for disaster relief, infrastructure repairs, and bailouts. Billions of dollars that could have gone to schools or hospitals are now going toward rebuilding the same flooded neighborhoods, over and over again. The cycle is unsustainable. Every year, the storms grow stronger, the damage is more expensive, and the recovery slower. It's no longer about rebuilding, it's about surviving. The financial collapse isn't a sudden crash, it's a slow drowning. People are losing purchasing power, savings, and faith in the system. And when enough people stop believing in the dream dies. Florida's leaders insist the state will recover, that it always does. And maybe they're right for a while. The markets might rebound, the tourists might return, but the deeper problems won't go away. The floods, the heat, the cost, the impossible math of living in a paradise that's falling apart. And yet, even now, millions refuse to leave. Because how do you walk away from paradise? How do you abandon everything you've built? Your home, your memories, your dream? That's the tragedy of Florida. It is not that people don't see the collapse coming. It is that they can let go of the illusion. They tell themselves it'll be fine, that the next hurricane won't be as bad, that insurance will come through, that the government will fix it, that the water will recede. But deep down, everyone knows. The sunshine is fading, the costs are rising, and the clock is ticking. Because paradise doesn't fall overnight. It sinks, slowly, quietly, beautifully, until one day, it's gone. And maybe that's the lesson Florida is trying to teach the rest of the world. That no matter how bright the dream, how strong the illusion, or how rich the promise, nature always collects its debt. And when it does, no one is immune.